Hello. Welcome to episode 180 something of Live Drawing. Tonight we'll be still working on Undersea Hero rewards. I've got another ink sketch cover I've got to do, and a couple more of those mini ink sketches. And we just got out across the 50% line for getting our rewards out to people. Another set of boxes went out this week. So those should start arriving tomorrow, actually, and then all through next week, depending on how far away you live. But I already started on more box doodles. This was the Magneto one that I did the other day. That one was fun. And then here's a Conan. Red Sky. It was fun. Just having fun with those. Hey, Martha's. Yeah, so we're just continuing to work through all this stuff. I did get a comic in the mail today. This was from Cody Lockwood, who does these claim sales. This was a 1975 Atlas horror comic. Love the lettering. And this was drawn by an artist named Jerry Grandinetti, who not a lot of people may know, but I think he made interesting storytelling choices. He didn't necessarily draw pretty pictures, but he did interesting storytelling choices. Thank you. And I sent you an email, Martha, about your plot. I think it's good. So, I gave you a few notes just if you wanted to try some stuff. But yeah, seemed cool to me. So. As far as your dime box plot or whatever goes. I'll mention this at the end too. I do have conventions coming up. March 29th, I'll be at Harry's Collectible Show in Franklin, Massachusetts. It's a one-day show. It's a lot of fun. Local, inexpensive door. Lots of great books. Little Giant or Rubber Chicken will be there. April 10th and 11th, I'll be at Little Giant. That's in Concord, New Hampshire. Awesome show. Incredible vendors, all comics and artwork. If I wasn't a guest there, I would shop there for sure. I've got Heroes Con, June 12th to 14th in Charlotte, and that's a show I've wanted to do my whole life. It's one of the last big shows I haven't done, and I'm really excited to be there. Hell, they even put my name on the poster, which was very exciting to me. And then 7th, 8th, and 9th of August, I will be at Fan Expo in Boston. So there are a couple other shows that reached out to me. We're talking things over, but nothing to announce at this time. Yeah, I don't think you need to follow up with anything. I think you can, But if you have questions, like I said, feel free to hit me up or whatever. Always happy to try to help. I don't always get back quick enough. I'm sorry about that. But I do my best. One thing I'll say about those box duos is like they are very relaxed. Which I like, it's not being afraid of like making mistakes. So this is just a fun sketch cover where he's like saluting, and doing his thing. And then we got Krakus with his drink. I like penciling kind of loose. One of the things that I've definitely found out about myself is that when all the problems are solved, I think the piece is done, even if it's not rendered or whatever. So in my head, it feels like, there's nothing left to accomplish if I've solved everything. So. about putting liquid lat on there, but I thought that would be too much, it'd be too busy. So. Booking conventions, doing all that stuff, talking to stores. According to Rubber Chicken, they have sold well, so that's good to hear. I'm hoping that point of sales thing that I made helped, you know. That's a good idea. Moving things around, moving shapes is fun, so that's a good idea. Moving things around. And it's a good exercise. It's a good thought exercise as far as drawing goes. Looking for a 0.3. There we go. 0.3. Yeah, we're only in a couple stores right now because, you know, I specifically wanted the stores that backed the Kickstarter to have first crack at it. So, you know, it just is what it is. And we'll be in more stores after I get the Kickstarter fulfilled. I've talked to a few. You know, we're hammering things out. That's what happens when you're distributing your own stuff. So I can't do things at scale. I have to do things, you know, as they come along, and as I can complete them. That's also why it takes me forever to, you know, keep getting boxes done and things. But people really like the box doodles, and I've been doing some that are full figure even, and spending lots of time on them. So considering at a convention, a full figure color piece for me would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $160. It's pretty good. I will be eventually offering exclusives out if somebody wants to do an exclusive cover. Like if a store wants to do a cover, I've done that with prior books, and those have seemed to have sold pretty well for the stores that did them. So I'll probably offer that again. You know, I basically don't charge a licensing fee. They just pay all the cost, and then they can sell them in their store for whatever. You know, the exclusives situation has changed over the years, so I was looking at one of the previous videos. I think it was last week. I never look at them, but I just looked at one thing just to check the settings, and I think I'll be able to chop up some of those box doodle videos and do little shorts where it's just like, here's the thing, and like hyperspeed. But again, that's when I have time to do any sort of editing. You know, some of the guys that I've worked with or known in the past, like I noticed Ben Bishop has kind of upped his YouTube videos, and they're nice, but he definitely spends a lot of time editing those things. Credit to him having the time to do that stuff. And they look great. If anybody hasn't checked him out, Ben Bishop, he's another artist that did Ninja Turtle stuff over at IDW. He did much more than I have. He did plenty of interiors, and he worked on Last Ronin, but we kind of are of the same. I call it kind of like a class of like a school. Like we're peers. We were in a lot of the same portfolio reviews and stuff back in the day. So. Yeah, I did spend a little bit of time this week, like I said, booking shows and doing a lot of paperwork. Like last night, I try to tell people about these sorts of days because when you're thinking about doing a Kickstarter, it doesn't necessarily occur to a creator that like you'll spend whole evenings just sending people tracking information, unless you have an automated way of doing it, which some people do. I have not checked the Olympics. Does anybody know if the men's hockey team beat Sweden or if they lost in overtime? Yeah, I saw some of those gesture drawings he did. They were nice. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work doing that stuff. Haven't watched much TV lately. Haven't been to the movies. My wife and I rewatched a movie, Waiting for Guffman, which if you've seen Best in Show or Spinal Tap. It's a Christopher Guest movie. I hadn't seen it in many years. I quite enjoyed rewatching it. I had not seen it in a long time. Take a look at this before I get too much further. I penciled this like very quickly at lunchtime. And it looks okay. It's not perfect, but it'll for a sketch cover. I think it's adequate. Drawing hands from different angles. That's always something that I try to get practice in on. Hey, thanks, Den. Yeah, we're still working on them. I showed off a couple for the next batch. I was glad people liked the Nightcrawler one, and my wife really quite liked the Silver Surfer one. That was her favorite from that batch. And she's not exactly a Silver Surfer fan. She just really liked the background. Kim Deach. I know the name. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Oh, the cartoonist Kim Deach. Yeah. Underground Comics. Right. When it came to the Undergrounds, I was more of a fan of Spain stuff, even though it got a little misogynistic for my taste. But I like Spain Rodriguez's stuff that he did with like Harvey Picar quite a bit. He did a few American Splendor stories, and I think they're just really excellent. And I acknowledge the importance of some of those cartoonists. I just don't enjoy revisiting their work. Like with Crumb, it's undeniable the effect he's had on comics, but I don't know, some of his work I find unpleasant to read. So yeah, I mean Kim Deach, and then God, Jordan Green for Buster Brown. Or what's his name? Or is it Binky Brown? I don't even remember. Brain's not working. Yeah, Binky Brown and the Virgin Mary. Justin Green. Yeah, not Jordan. My mistake. Hey, that's great, Dennis. I'll take a look at those drawings you sent me. It's exciting. I like when people start to put together their own ideas. And I've said it a million times. I much prefer seeing people draw their own stuff with their own voice, whatever that is, than, obviously using AI or anything like that. I find it far more compelling. I will check it out for sure, no worries. I always tell people when it comes to Undersea Hero, if you ever want to draw him, if you're ever worried about how he looks, or like the anatomy or the shapes or whatever, draw whatever looks funnier to you. I just think these big, weird shapes that cobble together that kind of look like muscles, I just think they're kind of funny. I don't know. Maybe that's weird. Maybe that's weird. I don't know. But I think the shapes are interesting and like they're not trying to be real. I think people are like, "Oh, you're trying to make it cool." And no, no. That was one of the criticisms I got when I showed off a copy to a store owner, and he was like, "Do you think these things look cool? These don't look cool." I'm like, I know. They're supposed to be funny. They're supposed to be silly looking. No, I absolutely, and I mean that. Like, I have another friend who's mostly been a writer his whole life, and he just started drawing, and he just draws these really simple shapes, and he's using them to tell these stories, and I love it. I think it's great. People telling their own stories, man. I will take basic, simple drawings over, you know, refined, overly published, you know, computer generated or anything else. Yeah, I meet a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I don't have any money to make a comic book," and I'm like, or hire an artist. I'm like, "Well, have you tried just drawing really simply? Like, just draw a really simple, face. Like, just draw. I'd rather see characters that look like this, little hair, interacting with each other than anything else." Hey, good to see you, Dennis. I'll catch up with you later, man. Voice actor, Dennis Dietrich. Soon you'll be paying for photo ops with Dennis, I'm sure. Be in the green room and I'll see him from like across the way trying to get a sandwich at the artist's coffee table. And he'd be like, "I don't know that man. Never seen him before in my life. Security, take him out of here." Oh, we did a convention in Fall River together. That was a weird little show, I will say. Oops, got a smudge there. That's all right. We're going to darken that out anyway, so that will be okay. One of the things I tell people about as far as his design goes is that like all of these portions that are different textures were put in there intentionally to help guide the viewer. You know, if you think about Spider-Man on his design, like the web's one part, the darker areas are another, and they're all put there specifically to help the viewer see the figure and also to help the artist be able to show it in space at different angles doing different stuff and still have it be recognizable even when it's mostly obscured. So we'll white out the stuff that's above here so that people can. These decisions will make sense once I fill in the background, and it'll be more obvious what's going on and everything. I did mention on online that if someone wants a drawing commission, I've had people messaging me for like the last year that they wanted to commission drawings. I just haven't made them available because of the Kickstarter. The first way to get one is to pick up at a show. So, like, if you want to pick up a drawing at Heroes Con or at Little Giant or any of the other ones, drop me a line and I can send you the rates or whatever. Hey, thanks, Jay. Good to see you, man. You psyched for Little Giant, Jay? It's going to be a good show, man. No, I never saw that show. I had a couple of people recommend it to me. Person who was into it really was Don McGregor, the comics writer. He was a big person who was like, "Ian, you got to watch this show." I didn't have stars, so I never saw it. But I think I saw it on a streaming service or something at some point. I don't know if it's on Netflix or Tubi or one of those. Jay, I saw a screenshot from the new Highlander film. I feel like that's a movie that you and I have to see together after having 4 beers. I think we got to Wade Boggs our way through that to borrow an Always Sunny saying. That's a good joke. There can be more than one. That's a solid joke, Patrick. Jay, are you gonna be there on Friday since there's like a VIP event the night before for Little Giant? I'll be there. Gotta take a part day off the day job for it. But booked a hotel room, all that stuff. Hey, thanks, Paul. Thanks for popping in. Caleb, good to see you, man. We are working our way through commission type drawings for the Kickstarter. That's what we are working on. I thought I had all of the ink sketch covers done, but I needed to get one more done. So we're going to get this done, and then this will be able to go out in the next set of packages. One of those things, as far as on the back end goes, like the reward level and the add-ons are separate line items, and I guess that's my own fault for how I set it up. I didn't know that you could tie those together or not. So like I only counted the people that had gotten this reward tier, and then I forgot that I also made it an add-on, and somebody got the add-on, so I had to do one more. Bookkeeping mistake on my end. I don't know. I just love doing those box doodles. I'm not afraid to make mistakes because it's a free drawing. I think that it's a fun way to make like a nice little artistic thing that if people want to keep it, great. If not, that's cool too. So we're able to clean up this part. Pencil lines out of there. And we'll, like I said, we'll white out the bits of logo so that it looks like he's in front of it when we get to that point. I'm not a martini guy, but I came to Crackus. I needed a visual gag that I thought would carry through and give him a little bit of personality. And the visual gag of the fact that there's liquid in the glass underwater, I found funny. And I have actually had people ask me, how do they have liquid in glasses if they're underwater? I'm like, because it's a comic and it's funny. I hope people like Crackus. My one worry was that people would like him too much, and it would end up being like Slimer on the Real Ghostbusters, where he basically took over the cartoon show. Just trying not to overthink it. That's something I tend to do too often. And that's something that those box doodles were really good, just getting me to not be afraid of it having to last forever and be perfect and something on somebody in someone's collection or on a wall or whatever. Sometimes that pressure bugs me when I'm drawing, because I've seen the complaints of like if I draw something in a material or a way that somebody doesn't like, they'll complain about it. I remember once I did I was at San Diego Comic Con and I was at the booth and I had to go on a restroom break. And I told this story before. And I put up a little sign that says, "I'll be right back." I had to run to the restroom because I was doing free sketches all morning. So that was kind of the deal. NEC brought us out there. We had to sign and do everything, all their quick sketches and everything for free, which was fine. It's a fine deal for me to go to San Diego. And this guy actually followed me when I left the booth all the way to the bathroom and asked me to sign his stuff while I was standing outside the bathroom. And I did just like a quick little drawing of a spoon, just as a gag, on it was on his back, like I was signing on this guy's back in front of the bathroom at San Diego Comic Con. Um, and he immediately flipped the sketch on eBay, and it sold. You can still see it in the sold listings for not a small amount of money. Which was surprising to me. But that was at the height of, like, at San Diego, you had people who would go there and fund their trips by flipping the exclusives while they were there. That was definitely a thing people did. Like, they would list it while they were standing there as soon as they got it. I don't know if that's still the case. I haven't been back since 2023, and that year I was really pushing this book right here, Undersea Hero issue 0. This was a official debut at San Diego Comic Con that year, actually, which was pretty cool. Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Well, let's get our whiteout going so we can try to clear this out. Try not to be too precious at this point because I'll definitely have to redraw some of this stuff. And we have to let that totally dry before we draw on it again. I've made that mistake in the past where it turns into like a gray paste and then there's nothing. Yeah, no, that's a real thing. Second guessing stuff that you're right, for sure. Yeah, I've been there. I'll be real interested to see what people think of the musical number in Undersea Hero. In my head, it was a thing, and I'll be interested to see if people, one, know the tune, and two, can, you know, separate that from the narrative as like a thing. This is a thing that's happening within the context of this story. I thought it made sense logically, but that was the biggest writing leap, I think, in the first full issue of Undersea Hero was the musical number. Well, sometimes that can work out for the best because you can steer the character in places you didn't expect it to go. I've definitely done that. I mean, Helena is my best strong female lead. She's just a tough character, strong. I think that's probably the best lady character I've written to date. Hey, I'll see you, Jay. Well, it's interesting with public domain characters. If you're saying you're sticking to the source material, that's great and all, but I also just don't know how important it is. Just because how many people that are reading it are going to have read any of the original source material. There's actually a question I posed to you in my email back to you about the direction of your story, and I just had an interesting thought that could change it and actually make it more your own, um, just based on what you had written for what was going on in the story. I was like, oh, this is an interesting development. This could be really neat. What do you think? And it would give you more room, more space to, as actors will put it, go to the moon with it. I remember when I got these printed and they showed up, I was just floored by how close this logo was to the top, and it was just I thought they were trimmed too close, but I got over that pretty quick. That's the kind of neurosis of like the books show up and I'm looking at like, oh, what about this? What about this? You know. But looked at the file was how I set it up, so it was not on the printer at all for this one. I don't know if I'll ever print more of these. If there's ever a need for them or a demand, maybe. Just because I think sketch covers are fun to do, and I really think they look neat with the lettering and everything. I don't know. I don't even know if they sell or if people really buy them anymore. I just like making them, even if I ended up just giving them away for Christmas presents or whatever. I would think you'd want it to be your own, but that's just me. If you have an opportunity to do something different, Let's see, is this stuff dry? Yeah. Sometimes this takes a few what you call it, layers to finish out. I think the fingers are a little too long, so we'll shrink those a little bit. Let that dry. Flatten out the dark areas. And then we'll add some white to those areas just for some spatter and things like that so that it looks nice. That's okay. It's sometimes I really like just starting a story by just drawing a random panel. Like I think of a couple of characters and draw an establishing shot on a piece of notebook paper or whatever, and then the writing comes from there. It's more like an improv situation than an actual like writing exercise. Wow, page 4. It's a lot of pages. Another thing I've just kind of had to accept was just that, like, even though I look like I draw fast on this, that when it comes to pages, it takes a while to craft them a certain way, and maybe I overthink things or I overmeasure things or whatever. But in order to end up with what I anticipate will or plan to publish, it just takes me a little longer. It'll be reverent. Actually, someone I used to know pretty well, worked on the last Dime Box Comics. Was a just a he was a nice guy that ran one of the local comic book stores, and he was not an artist or didn't care to call himself much of one. And he did a story in it. He drew and wrote and drew it, and some very simple drawings, but they were effective, and I really liked it. So There's something else. Just a little. Let that dry. Get rid of that. See, just little details like that, because of where they are just so important, that I'm just taking some extra time on it. Let that dry. Yeah, that's always a fun motivation to see how it ends. I think that the surprise is part of what gets us there, and then, if it's not up to snuff, we can always rewrite it or we can redo stuff. But I don't know. I think that when it's a surprise, even to the creator of the strip, that it can, produce really interesting results. Well, I think we got through that sketch cover. We just got to sign it, and then I have to write on the back, because nobody knows who this character is or whatever. It's one of the things I started doing a while ago. It was just writing on the back what things are. Or if, like, I have a connection to the character. That's something I do on, like, if I draw Conan or, Red Sonja or some character that I've drawn before, I'll write on the back, where I worked on it, so people can be like, oh, this person actually worked on this stuff. For some reason, this little bubble is just bugging me, so I'm going to swipe that out. Let that dry for a second. then I think after that sketch, we'll just call it a night. We don't have to keep working. So I'll show you what I write on the back once this dries a little bit. I don't want it to smear. Maybe we'll do a little bit of spatter just for fun. Let's do that. We got a card over here. Do I have one? I have one. Use those. Is it under here? Where did I put my spatter card? There indeed. Is it onto the computer? No, just one that I can't use on the screen. And we'll write on the back. Signature right here. There is the card. Put it in there. Well, I think we'll just call it a night then. Thanks everybody for coming out. Hope you enjoyed the sketch cover, and we'll keep putting out the boxes as soon as I can. We'll just do one more rundown of this. Convention's coming up March 29th, Harry's Collectible Show in Franklin. April 10th and 11th, the Little Giant Show in Concord, New Hampshire. June 12th through 14th, Heroes in Charlotte, North Carolina, and August 7th, 8th, and 9th, Fan Expo, Boston. So thanks for coming out tonight, and hope everybody has a good weekend and a good week, and I hope to see you next week. Thanks very much, everybody. Good night.